Welcome to Story Chats at Inspy Romance. I'm Elizabeth Madry, and I'm here with my two co-hosts.
I'm Narelle Atkins.
I'm Valerie Comer.
Janet Ferguson is back with us today. Thanks for being here, Janet.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So today we are talking beach romance. And what is it about beach romance that made you want to join us?
Oh, goodness. I love the beach. That's my happy place. It's like God opens up a treasure chest when you're at the beach of starfish and shells and sunsets, the breeze. Just stars at night. It's one of my favorite places. So when I finished writing 3 novels set in Oxford, Mississippi, I moved all of my next 7 novels to the beach because I just want to do research. I think I have beaches in Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, and Georgia in the novels that follow the Oxford ones.
That's
Cool.
excellent. Okay.
I can feel the breeze, smell the salty air from here. I wish.
So there are a ton of different sorts of beaches. When we talk beach romance, does beach location matter? Does it have to be a sunny southern sandy beach, all those S's, or like Maine has beaches, or there are pebbly beaches? There's the beaches of Northern California are very different from like Key West, for example. So what do you think? Do they all qualify as settings for beach romance, or is there something when you think beach romance, is there a specific sort of beach that you have in mind? Narelle, I'm going to go to you first because I'm guessing none of those things are what you think of when you think of the beach.
No, well, we have, I think, some of the best beaches in the world in Australia, and a whole lot of sand that you have in Hawaii is actually from Australia. So obviously it's the best. But to be honest, anything on the coast where there's water, I would consider beach. And I mean, we do have beaches up in Northern Australia that you can't swim in for a chunk of the year because of stingers or crocodiles and various other things. So it's not even a criteria of having to be in swimwear on the beach that sort of hits my mind when I think about beach romance. It's just the whole outdoors, and even weather doesn't matter to me either. Like as long as there's water, some kind of sand or something to walk on. Yeah, sun may be out. It's all good to me.
All right. Valerie, what about you?
Well, I know that you can technically have beaches on lakes, but that is not a beach romance for me. That might be like a vacation romance or camping romance, but it's not a beach romance. For me, it's got to be ocean all the way. I need that salty smell in the air, and I need to see the waves crashing. And I know that the Great Lakes have big waves, but they are not the beach. I'm sorry for those who think they are. But it doesn't have to be like Southern Florida or something like that. I have been to those beaches. They're great. I don't mind reading stories set there. But I'm a West Coast girl, and I'm happy with stories that take me to the wild Pacific coast as well, where the waves crash on huge rocks and so forth. It doesn't need to be hot. It doesn't need to be swimmable even. It just needs to be the ocean.
Okay. All right, Janet, what about you?
I'm kind of the same way. As long as it has an ocean and water, I'm good. I even put a beach scene when I wrote Star Rising in Ireland. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be in the South. I'd love to see Narelle's wonderful beaches. Write a story there.
Yeah.
So,
I kind of like Lake Michigan's beach. So I feel like Lake Michigan gets a pass on the beach. They totally would qualify. Especially depending on which area you go to, maybe not the beachfront that's right there in downtown Chicago, but if you actually go into Michigan, there are some really beautiful beach camping areas. We used to go there during college, and I mean, we weren't going to get to the ocean anytime soon because it was 20 hours away. So that made more sense. But I'm
It is
glad you guys
beautiful.
include the rockier, colder beaches because those are the beaches that I like. I don't tend to love the go bake yourself in the sun and develop skin cancer beaches. Those are not my favorites.
You're going to laugh. When I was in Chicago, most places I go, I do look for some sort of a beach when we're on vacation. And so in Chicago, I had to go to the beach there and get my feet in and walk in that cold water. It's
Absolutely.
just, so maybe it could count, you know?
I had a friend who learned to scuba dive in Lake Michigan, for with a beach entry and everything. So it's doable.
If it's a lake, like you have lakes that are so much bigger. We only have big lakes in when there's like floods from a cyclone up north, and then the middle of Australia sort of fills up with water. So we actually have a lake that is near where I live called Lake George, and it is rarely full. Like it's not it's interesting. I think it's like a volcano crater middle section or something. Yeah. But anyway, but if I was at a lake and I could not see the other side, then that would probably count to me as a beach.
And that's definitely
By Australia logic.
Yeah, with Lake Michigan, you can't see the other
Yeah,
side.
I have been there, like walked it in Racine, been to the lighthouse there. I mean, it definitely ticks most of the boxes, but it just doesn't have that salty air. I'm sorry. I liked it that it's not a beach romance set there. Sorry.
Is it fresh water? The lakes there, are they fresh water or salt water?
Yeah, they're fresh water. Yeah, they don't smell like ocean.
And fresh water is different to swimming. It's very heavy swimming in fresh water. I grew up near a dam in Sydney, and it was always very different swimming in the dam compared to swimming in the ocean. Like you just can't compare because you actually float in the salt water, whereas you sink in fresh water, if that makes sense.
Buoyancy in salt water is different than buoyancy in fresh water. Yes, that's true. It's true. Okay, cool. So we've sort of touched on it, but just explicitly, does beach romance have to be in the summer? Yes or no, Janet?
No, in fact, at least two of mine are set in November, December at the beach. So my Christmas stories and Thanksgiving stories can be at the beach too. So,
all right, Narelle, summer or any year, anytime?
I'd say anytime, but I do admit I do like reading summer now because I recently had early stage melanoma cut out of my back. So I live in the skin cancer capital of the world. So by the age of 70, something like 60 to 70% of its population has had skin cancer. So I'm now on quite regular checks, and I've got a bunch of moles that could start doing some nasty things. So fortunately, it was discovered early, cut out, gone. I don't have to worry about it. So yeah, so everyone make sure you have your moles checked and get your skin checked if you need to. Public service announcement. But going back to beaches, so because I can no longer live my life I did, I grew up on the northern beaches in Sydney, so I spent a lot of time outdoors, a lot of time at the beach. I had the healthy suntan like every kid did in the 80s. So I can't do that now that I've got this risk factor for skin cancer. So I really like reading sort of that hot, warm beach setting because that's not something I'm not going to spend a day at the beach right now, probably for the rest of my life without being covered up and all the rest of it. So to me, that makes it even more exciting to read about summer and people that do actually get to do that in fictional worlds where there's no skin cancer.
Exactly. Valerie?
I think they can be set anytime, but I'm going to guess that summer is probably an easier sell. But yeah, Christmas story set at the beach or spring and fall. Sure, why not?
Well, Christmas is summer in Australia, so
there you go.
It's
mostly hot here too. November, December, in Mississippi, Alabama, Florida. We stay pretty warm, so it's one of my favorite times to go is in October. It's beautiful, just right most of the time. So
and fewer tourists.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, maybe because people from my area leave like for Christmas break. It's like they're going to Destin or to somewhere in Florida to the beach for a week over Christmas, because then it's warm instead of snowy. So not that it's snowy here, it's just cold and weird. So, but yeah.
They do have a lot of snowbirds, like in this story I'm writing right now on Dauphin Island during the winter. They have people that come live there every winter. So it's interesting too.
Yeah.
Yeah. We driving down I-95, we always try to count. There's always people from Ontario driving, leaving Canada to go
Nothing
flood
here.
Florida. Don't blame them. It's snowy. But all right, so that brings us to the best beach CCR that we've been reading lately. So we're gonna transition into that. And Janet, you want to go first?
Yes, that'll be good. We all have mentioned before Carla, tell me how to say her last name,
Laureano.
Laureano, who wrote 5 Days in Skye, which I loved, and that's beaches and fishing towns and a hunky Scottish chef, and I just liked that story. It was a very romantic story, and there was beaches. I like that. I also enjoyed Sarah Monzon has one, Finders Keepers. It's in Florida, and there's like scuba diving and boats and a little bit of adventure. That was great. And I'm going to mention too, Charles Martin has several things, and I can't think of all their titles right now he says he writes romance for dudes or by a dude. I'm not sure, but he has several where he's in the water, and I think he actually lives there. So they're very realistic. So
It's interesting that you picked 5 Days in Skye because I love that book and I never would have considered it a beach romance at all. I mean, it's an island. So, by definition, it has beaches because it's an island. I mean, I guess not necessarily. You could have an island with a completely rocky coast, right? And if you just have cliffs, it's not beach, right? I don't know.
Still a beach. It may not have sand. I don't know, but it still counts in my book.
Okay. All right.
Have the ocean, so
yeah, okay. The ocean is really the kicker. So it's interesting because I love Finders Keepers, but that didn't hit my list either because I guess in my mind, when I think of beach romance, and it's funny, I think of more than just the setting. Like the beach needs to be it has to factor in more than it's just set near the ocean. So that's an interesting take. Like if they're not consciously walking on the beach, or it's not about the tourists who are sunbathing, or there's something in the ocean where the shark gets too close to all the swimming kids or whatever, I don't know. Like it doesn't seem like it's so. That's like a preconception that I had, but I hadn't thought to broaden it just to being near the beach.
In what you're thinking of is where the beach is pretty much a character in its own right.
Yeah, like you couldn't take the book and put it somewhere else and it would still work. Like it has to be at the beach.
Right, but Janet's thing, like I haven't read that one by Sarah Monzon, but if they're having scuba diving and so forth, that would be pretty hard to have in, I don't know, North Dakota.
Yeah, but true, but they're treasure hunting, so like they go to they're like out in the deep sea. They're not. They're on a boat. They take a boat from the beach out into the middle of the ocean.
That's fair.
Although they do spend some time walking on the beach in that one. You're right, in the moonlight.
It seems like there's a pier scene where they kiss or something.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've read it, but
no, you're right. That one totally qualifies. It's just I did not think of it, so I'm glad that you did because it totally qualifies. It's good.
I hope all mine meet your criteria because I don't think I could have set them anywhere else and had them work.
My criteria really is just me. I'm one person. If they meet your criteria, they're good. That's all that matters. Narelle, what about you? What did you choose?
Well, this is hard because there's so many books that, I consider my definition is coastal. So anything on the coast is effectively beach. So the first one I'm talking about is a new release, Regaining Mercy by Carolyn Miller. And that book is set it's part of the Independence Island series. Mm-hmm. So they're up to Elnora Island now, the second group of I think every author's writing 3 books that are in the second group now. And so this one ticks all the boxes. The main character, whose name is Mindy. Yes. So Mindy was the girl from the wrong side of the track. So she was from a poorer family and didn't have a very good upbringing. She has a son, isn't married. Her son has special needs, and she was short of money and went on a reality TV show, like a Bachelor style show called, what was the name of it? I can't remember now. It's gone out of my head. And so she everyone looks down upon her, because how could she possibly go on this reality TV show and leave her son? So it all backfires on her, and so she ends up coming back to town and living in the old house that where she grew up. And Dermot's the hero, and we've met him in a previous book because it relates to the gardening company that started off Carolyn's books in the series. And the opening chapter is where Mindy's working as a cashier in a grocery store, and this senior church lady comes in and is just awful to her and just gives her such a hard time. And the customer abuse in this story, actually, it really got me going. It's one of the things that I don't like. I don't like seeing people getting treated badly when they're just trying to do their job at work. And the hero, Dermot, steps in because that's his friend's little sister, and he accidentally makes it worse, and she effectively ends up getting fired and not getting any more shifts. And so he ends up feeling bad, and she ends up getting a job doing stuff with him and the gardening company. So it was a really fun story, and they are on the beach and they swim in the water, and there's all that. It ticks all the boxes in terms of summer, nice weather, and a really nice romance as well that goes with it. So I enjoyed that one.
Excellent. All right, Valerie, what do you have?
The first one that I thought of was from Annette M. Irby. And she's written a series called Washington Islands Romance. And the first one is Finding Love in Friday Harbor. And it really ticked the boxes for me, partly because, like I said, I love the wild Pacific coast, North California through to all of British Columbia, like that whole stretch. I've seen a whole lot of that and love the wildness there. And whenever we get out to the coast or to Vancouver Island, we try to take a whale watching tour. And we've seen some really, really cool things. And I would do that literally anywhere in the world that we would go to that's on the ocean, just to see what's local. Mm-hmm. But in this particular story, and I did not write down the names of the characters, and it's been a while since I read it. So the guy is a whale watching tour guide. Mm-hmm. And the heroine is a marine biologist. So they are working together. As I recall, it was a second chance romance where they had been together once before and gone apart. And now they're forced to work together on this marine biology program. And so for me, it ticks the boxes. I'm sure there were some scenes on the beach. I don't remember those. I remember the ones out on the water with the whales. And obviously that's not going to take place, in Saskatchewan. That's definitely beach or coast to me. So yeah, I think we are talking more about, well, I think Narelle said it's a coastal romance more. I guess maybe we're morphing the definition of beach romance and calling it coastal.
Maybe so. I need to read that, though. I'm writing about a marine biologist right now. That sounds fascinating. So
it's a fun series. There's three, I think.
Three.
Yeah. It's a fun series. I enjoyed those a lot as well. So the first one that I chose is Beyond the Waves by Lynnette Bonner. It is again Pacific Northwest. It's so not your hot sandy spring break beach, but and it's a beach town, but it's not so focused on the beach. I think they do walk on the beach a couple times, but it's not so much about the beach. So here's me breaking my own rule. But I like Lynnette's contemporary romances. Most of what she writes is historical, but I really like when she does do something contemporary because I feel like her characters are very real and accessible. That's what I like about that book. Narelle, did you have another?
I did, and this one ticks every box for the beach, and that's Laurie Larsen's Road Trip to Redemption. So that's the first book in her Pauly Island series,
Right.
and so much of this story I've talked about this in a previous episode, so I'm not going to go too much into what happens in the story, but they meet on the beach. They spend a lot of time walking on the beach. She's traveled there from Pittsburgh, if I said that right, in Pennsylvania, takes a road trip and ends up at Pauly's Island. And there's a house called the Old Grey Barn on the beach where her extended family used to get together for summer vacations. And so after her husband's divorced her and she's got this summer with her daughter in Paris and nothing to do, she ends up going on a road trip and lands at Pauly's Island and meets the hero Hank, and she literally meets him on the beach and ends up staying at an inn on the beach that his daughter owns. And if you took that setting away, it would not be the same story. So when we talk about setting and the beach as a character, I think Road Trip to Redemption is definitely one of those stories where the setting was like a character in the book. So I just love that book because the main character, Leslie, she's just got such a sunny disposition and she's so optimistic. So if you want to read something and get your spirits lifted and be in the head of a really positive character, even though all these things happen to her, she really has a glass half full way of looking at life. So and the whole story's in her point of view as well. We don't actually go into Hank's point of view, but it's just a really fun summer light beach read that does touch some serious issues. And I just love being in Leslie's head. The kind of person you'd love to make friends with. You know, you read some of those books and like, oh, I'd love to be friends with her. Leslie's one of those characters.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I'm adding so many books to my list now. These sound good.
Valerie, did you have a second?
Yeah, I wanted to mention Jan Thompson's Savannah Sweethearts series. Oh, I say that 3 times fast.
Yeah.
Because they're all set in or near Savannah. And the one that I read first of hers is called Draw You Near. And Abilene is an artist who paints the ocean. And Lars has come from somewhere in the UK. I don't remember exactly where, because it's been a while since I read it. But he is looking for a person that's in one of the paintings, which turns out to be her. Spoiler. But it just really gave me a feeling and a sense of Savannah and the sea as it's seen there. And there's a lot of beach walks, and I really enjoyed walking the beach with Jan's characters there.
Very good. I had that series down also because I agree, you can't read those books without walking on the beach. All of them. And then the church is in a old ship, like a casino
paddle boat
or paddle boat. Yeah. And so right there on the water, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a beautiful area.
It is. And she gets a lot of the flavor of Savannah really captured in those books, which is fun. If you've been to Savannah, you'll recognize it. And if you haven't been Savannah, you get a little taste.
That's how I feel, because I haven't been there, but I kind of feel like I have. Mm-hmm. And I'd be looking for that riverboat church if I were there. And would I be disappointed to not find it? Probably.
You'd see riverboats. I don't know for sure that there are any that are churches. So I had also chosen The Matchmaking Moms of Oceanview Church by Laurie Larsen, which kicks off a Matchmaking Moms series. And they're all right there at the beach. And book 3 is my favorite, which also actually is more of the beachiness. And that's Finding Love for the Workaholic. She lives on the beach. And so she's transforming her home into sort of a intimate fancy party venue with the patio and the walks, out on the beach. So you get the beach at night a lot, which I do prefer the beach at night. I think it is specifically magical in the evening when the skin cancer causing sun is not blasting down on you. I get sunburned so easily that the beach is not my happy place because it always ends up being painful. So that's my thing. But I really enjoyed that series a lot. Janet, you sort of rattled yours all off right at the start. Did you have any more? Did you want to expound a little? I feel like we're sort of cutting you out a little bit.
Well, I did name mine all at once. But all of the ones y'all are talking about sound so good. I'm just, I love how when you read these stories too, like you said, you feel like you've been there, and then also that I want to go, I want to see them. I do remember reading some Lisa Wingate books that were set near the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and I was just fascinated with wanting to go there. I just want to go see that now. So, but I don't recall the titles of those right now. Sorry.
I'll look them up. No, that's okay. I'll do some Googling, see if I can figure it out. All right, we probably have time. If you guys have one more, we have time probably for that. Narelle, do you have another?
I do, and I'll be very quick because we've already talked about this book before, but I obviously have an obsession with visiting the East Coast of the US because I started off talking about Carolyn's books, which is set off the Carolinas, and then Paulie's Island, Laurie Larsen's book, is set off South Carolina, and the other book that came to mind was Is It Any Wonder by Courtney Walsh that we've done an episode on, because the opening scene is she's out, I'm thinking, paddle boarding, can't remember what she was doing now.
I think that's right.
Paddleboarding, and ends up getting herself into trouble in the surf in a rip, and he's a lifeguard, so that ticks another box. You can't be a lifeguard anywhere else but where there's water, or you could on a lake, but we won't get back into that.
Swimming pool.
And
swimming pools.
And swimming pools, but that's just not the same. And so he rescues her from she would have died if she hadn't have been rescued. It was a very dangerous situation. So there
aren't too many riptides in swimming pools anyway.
No,
unless somebody pulls the plug really quick.
Yeah. Well,
so
he's a coastie, right? So he's Coast Guard. So that's a little better than a lifeguard, and you won't find the coasties probably except in the ocean. Or on the Great Lakes. They are, I believe the Coast Guard is actually in the Great Lakes because they're big enough.
And this is my Aussie terminology because we don't use the word Coast Guard to my knowledge. I'm more thinking lifeguard, which is kind of the same thing, but probably not. But anyway.
No.
So Is It Any Wonder was the other one that I thought of. And so I'll end my list there, but obviously I really want to travel to the East Coast of the US where there's beaches.
That's Nantucket. I don't think you said, so that's
Nantucket,
northeastern, Nantucket.
Yeah, because you can't swim much further north than around about that Boston area, can you? Because the water's too cold.
Yeah, it gets too cold. Maybe in the summer. In the summer in Maine, if you're hardy, you probably could, but only in the summer. Valerie?
Can I talk really, really fast and get more than one more in?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna though. Irene Hannon's books set in Starfish Bay are awesome. They're set in Northern California, and it's small town versus big resort kind of thing. Okay. Julie Carabini's Sea Glass Inn series is also in California, but a bit further south. And one more. I wanted to point out one of Janet's. So see, I have to do this. And I thought maybe she would talk more about it or somebody else would, but being as I haven't heard it yet, Falling for Grace, which as I recall was in a box set at one point. Is that right, Janet? I think that's right.
It's set in Santa Rosa, Florida. Yes, and it's set like November, December there, which is still very warm there. And yes, that was a fun book to write because Grace is so clumsy, and she falls into the hero, and he's such a great hero, a broken hero, and that he makes things at the beach out of things that he finds, and broken things, and so it's a lot about being broken and healing. So
I remember that about it. It's been again several years since I read it, but it stuck with me in that that both of them were there really needing some healing in their lives. He lived there and she was visiting, but in either case they really needed that, and there were beach walks. So there you go. It's all good.
Excellent.
Thanks. I didn't know if I was supposed to mention my own book. So
You're always welcome to. Just so you know, you are always welcome.
okay.
But this has been a hard episode to nail down to just a couple of books. I've been very self-controlled. There's a whole book, there's so many books you could talk about that are so good.
And even with the ones I mentioned, I could rattle off like 5 more without thinking more than 2 seconds. But yeah.
Y'all's brains are better than mine. I had to like search. I was like my Goodreads list, like, oh, what can I talk about? I just can't remember things. I don't know. I'll quit. I'll get off of that topic though.
I hear you.
Sometimes that Valerie is like, I can't think of any, but not with beaches, because the beach
Not with beaches
is Valerie's thing.
Especially since we went with coastal.
Yeah.
You know, when we diverted to that, we're all good.
I guess that's mine. Coastal. My series is called Coastal Heart series, so I guess I associated that with beach. So I don't know. Maybe there are 2 different reads.
And then you've got the one with the hurricane too.
Right.
Like storms.
Yes, I have 2 that have hurricanes in them at least. So
and that doesn't happen inland either, or not very far so much. Well, not with the waves coming in.
Not with waves, but hurricanes. I mean, depending on how big they are.
I realize that they kind of keep going, but
you don't have to be at the beach to have a hurricane.
Hey, fine. Yeah, we don't have them here.
You're lucky.
Yeah. During Katrina, I live 3 hours inland, and we had hurricane force winds here, but that's pretty much the worst one we've had. Well, since I was a little girl and Camille hit. So yeah, but hurricanes typically hit the beach. So
yeah, it's true. Cool. That's probably good for time. So whatever we missed, let us know in the comments. Your favorite that we didn't get to. Janet, tell us where we can find you in your books.
Everything's on Amazon. I have 9 out, writing the 10th one, which is also set at a beach, Dauphin Island, Alabama. Yay. And like I said, a marine biologist. So I'm learning things that I don't know. And that's why I need to read more about, if you have recommendations that are about marine biologists, put them in the comments too. I'll need to read those.
Good plan.
And what is your website? Is it just janetferguson.com?
It's janetfergusonauthor.com.
Okay, very good. And I'll link that so that you don't have to try and remember it, but I'll link it for y'all.
Thank you.
Definitely leave us comments on YouTube or over on our Facebook page. Let us know what we missed or what your favorite beach romance that we talked about is. Anything beachy. Maybe chime in on coastal versus needing actually walk on the sand. Let us know your thoughts, because there's apparently some room for conversation there. So let's have that conversation. It could be fun. Thank you, Janet, for joining us. Thank you,
Thanks for having me.
For watching and listening. And you can find all the information you need about the podcast at inspyromance.com/storychats. If you are watching on YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. And in the meantime, we'll see you next week, but don't forget to fall in love with a good book. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye.